All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the session today. Um, we'll start with my introduction. I will just let you know about my technical background. Then we'll talk about what I'll be covering this course and how it is going to be helpful. It will be very quick and short demo. And if you have any questions at the end, you can start asking the questions. And this session is for 40 minutes. In case if the link ended before we end the discussion, so you can join the same link. Okay. And but regular sessions will be on Microsoft Teams, so you don't need to worry about this 40 minutes of Zoom sessions. Okay. All right, to get started, I'm Kamalakar. I have around 12 plus years of experience with IT, and with respect to the Azure, it's been 10 years. And with regards to the training, I've been into this field for almost 8 years, into the training field, and I've trained the people who are into the technical and non-technical background and who are freshers, and probably, I can say some experience. I trained HR and management resources as well, right? So I used to train on Azure administration earlier, and it's been like 2 years. I think companies are also started expecting people from the Azure DevOps. So I introduced the Enterprise Cloud Expert program, which is basically going to cover end-to-end stack of a cloud engineer role. Let's say if you are working as a cloud engineer, you might be expected to do Azure administration tasks. Sometimes you might be expected to do Azure DevOps task as well. And that's what my most of my students face a problem during the interview. So I started introducing the Azure DevOps to this course. So it's a combination of Azure admin and Azure DevOps. And as we know, these days AI also booming a lot. And any job description, you start seeing the good understanding about AI solutions, probably cognitive services or a machine learning models, probably Python basics, right? So I started introducing the AI services into this course as well. So it's basically it's full stack of a cloud engineer because nowadays cloud engineer has a common title for many cloud services, right? So we know in Azure, we have a different paths of learning. We have the Azure administration, Azure DevOps, and Azure data engineering, and now AI specialist, right? So you might see a common job title which says cloud engineer for all of them. So our main focus area is to be very strong on Azure administration. Okay. Then having a very strong foundation on Azure DevOps as well. Okay, these are two pillars for us. Going forward. Then having a good understanding of AI services and um, how we can create a Python program which can help you to connect to the AI services. That is what most of the AI engineers gonna do now, right? At least they will help developers to how to integrate AI services from the Python or whatever the code it is. So this is going to be our full stack, of course, and first two components are very strong, and rest two will be like you'll have some basic understanding about it, right? So then there is another path also, Azure Architect, which is basically a um, next level to the Azure Admin and Azure DevOps. If you are good in Azure Admin and Azure DevOps, you can also go with the Cloud Architect path as well. The problem with this, even Cloud Architect, nowadays people are expecting you to have some idea about Python and AI services. So this would definitely help you to set your next career as a cloud architect, which covers the AI area as well, right? So the only small difference with the admin and Azure DevOps and cloud architect, you would see a difference because being an admin and Azure DevOps, you will be an expert on a specific area. With the architect, you will be able to talk to the stakeholders and designing a solutions. So little bit of I mean, I would say if you want to learn cloud architect, maybe a 10% of cloud architect components are not covered into this course. So if you guys are interested after this one, so we'll have some free sessions where we extend our knowledge gap to cloud architect level as well. So that's how it is. Okay, this is about a different learning paths what we have and what companies are expecting, and this is basically based on the current market trend. Um, what I have designed, and these sessions are not just basically talking about okay, what is Azure VM, what is Azure AD, which would not help you, right? So if you are joining a company and if you are part of a cloud operations team, and how your day starts and how do you interact with the different people, and what kind of requests you get it and how do you handle them, right? It's not about always configurations because you already have experienced people, and with the tools technologies what we have, it is easy to learn basic tasks. Let's say creating an Azure VM, configuring backup, configuring a VNet. It's pretty easy for everybody, right? But what difference what we make is okay, if somebody asking you to create a VM example, right? Simple task. What are the things that we consider as an experienced person, right? Do we have a bill sheet? And what is the configuration you required? And why do you need additional configuration, right? What is your usual standard for building the virtual machine, right? That is what we'll be talking about it, so that if you go for an interview or maybe if you get any project internal your company, you'll be able to handle them. So that is what you'll be learning. It is beyond always, right? We just don't talk about okay creating a VM. So example, PVH IT solutions have a on-premise environment. They want to move to the cloud. Maybe PVH IT solution want to support a product development company who need to migrate to the cloud. Maybe who wanted to set up the portfolio on the cloud environment. So being a cloud engineer, maybe senior cloud engineer, or maybe a cloud architect, so how do you help that business, right? So what are the first thing that you have to pick up on Azure, right? If you wanted to build an environment in the cloud, right? So probably we always talk about cloud identity, which is basically referred as an Azure Entra ID. Earlier we used to call as Azure AD. So we try to understand why we have to set up the cloud entity. If you don't have a cloud entity properly configured, what are the implications, right? Your identity might be stolen, right? Somebody might hack your credentials, your admin credentials, maybe get into the system. So how Azure it is going to help us to protect from such kind of vulnerabilities, right? So that is what you'll be spending time. So ideally, if you go for any institutions anywhere, right? So they just finish Azure ready in 1 or 2 days. But this is a very critical component where we spend most of the time on this one. Once we are perfect on this one, then we'll jump into the infrastructure component. So I'll just show you one example. If I go to this recent batch that we running, so it's almost you can see 15 sessions we completed, and this all related to the Azure AD only. So this is like a full end-to-end stack of learning, right? It's not just guys. Just want to check. Are you guys seeing my screen? I don't see the
Yes,
screen share.
Yeah, we
Okay,
are able to
yeah,
see your
we are
screen.
coming.
yeah. I just see that the screen share option was not there. I was confused. Okay, okay. What I was trying to say, you can imagine 15 sessions and we have not completed it, right? So we have one more session pending with this. So that is the level of deep we will be going into this technologies, each service. So the course content which I've given to you guys on LinkedIn or WhatsApp, this is basically covers within 60 to 70 days. Okay, just in case if there is any issue facing, we might have to extend the sessions. But even though it is extending, let's say 60 to 70 days, okay, maybe 10 days additionally, but you will not be worried because first 1 month is where you will be very strong on this technology, right? So whatever the topic you're learning, let's say you're learning Azure AD, you'll be master into that. Then you go into the Azure infrastructure, you'll be master into that. Then you go to the PaaS services, you'll be master into that. So if you combine these three at least, right, your profile will be very stronger. So at the end, let the people ask you n number of questions. You don't worry because you are a master subject matter expert on a specific these areas, right? Even though they ask you different scenarios, different use cases, you know how this product works, then you can explain to them. That is the whole intention of this course and going into a deep dive. It's not about talking about a full technical from the day one, right? We'll just try to talk about from the very basics. Okay. So example, let's say we talked about cloud entity and we ensured that, okay, you understand how companies are securing the cloud identity. Then what is the next thing? Okay, customer have applications they have deployed on a server infrastructure, right? So then we will try to understand how Azure governance is supposed to be set up. When it's Azure governance, it's a fancy terminology everywhere you hear it, but it is very simple. We talk about subscriptions, okay? Then we talk about Azure policies. Okay, then we'll talk about the management groups, resource groups, and naming standards. Okay, so this is what basically, if you want to deploy the resource in the cloud, you have to have some process in place, some standards in place, right? This is where you'll learn in detail about these things. So once you learn these things, then you will have to understand how you deploy the virtual machines, right? Then we'll jump into the virtual machines components. So with virtual machine is the one which is a key thing for a cloud environment, right? So everything you learn in Azure, it is related to the virtual machine. Example, you're learning backup. Okay. You're learning backup because you have to protect your virtual machine. You're learning DR, which is ASR. You're learning ASR because you have to ensure that you have a DR solution, disaster recovery solution. Okay, you're learning monitoring, which is basically log analytics and cluster query, right? So you're learning because you need to monitor your server. Okay, then you're learning virtual network. Okay, you're learning NSGs, you're learning ASGs, you are learning private endpoints, then you are learning application gateways, you're learning load balancers, traffic manager, like many more IO services because you wanted to manage or secure the environment, right? So you're learning availability set, available everything, right? Everything is related to this virtual machine because this is where your exact or application will be running, right? Be it a Windows server or Linux machine, whatever it is. Being a cloud engineer, you have to know all these components to protect your application from all the scenarios, right? Sometimes you might see the VM is not connecting. You might be getting a request from your end user, so you should know how to handle the situation. Your application team complain that application is very slow, then you should know how to isolate, okay, it's an application issue or a network issue or a firewall issue or probably a actual virtual machine issue, maybe a Azure platform issue, right? So this is what you'll slowly learn from these sessions, and you'll be completing the Azure infrastructure component. Then once you're familiar with these ones, then we'll go into the PaaS model. Basically, so far you learn virtual machine to deploy your application. The same application can be deployed on a PaaS resources, which is basically, web app, right? Most of you guys know might be web apps, then logic apps, then maybe function apps. There are a few services we'll be learning. Okay, and especially the storage account is again it belongs to PaaS resource, right? So you'll spend some more time on this one, and SQL database is another one, another PaaS resource. Okay, so once you learn these things, I think you would be perfect from the Azure administration point of view, right? And during these sessions, the way we discuss with the different use cases, you'll also be confident in understanding about cloud architecture as well. Because when we talk about a VM, we also talk about, okay, how do you design the virtual machine sizing requirement, right? Who all are the people responsible for defining the sizing requirement? So we'll go a little bit deep into it. That is what exactly an architect also does, right? It's not only just implementing it and troubleshooting it. So we'll also understand what is best to design the solution. As part of the sessions, you will eventually learn, but will not focus on a cloud architect, but eventually you will learn what cloud architect also do it, right? So once you're done with this, I mean, when you start implementing this hub and spoke model, virtual machines, you will see a lot of issues. Maybe you did not deploy the right VNet, right resource group. Maybe you did not follow the standards which I'm explaining you. You would start seeing some problems. Then you realize that, okay, I think it's better to automate, right? That is when you will realize the value of infrastructure as a code platform, right? That's where we'll learn about Terraform. Okay, so we will see how you use Terraform to automate this infrastructure, right? Maybe whether you're building a multiple virtual machine in existing environment, maybe you are setting up the complete new Azure environment, right? How do you develop Terraform templates to build such a big environment or manage a big environment, right? That is what you will learn. So then slowly you will understand, okay, how do we better deploy this Terraform templates, right? Instead of doing manually, that is when you will realize the value of Azure DevOps services. Then you will learn about, okay, repos, how you can, where you can store your code. Then you will learn about the boards, where how you can manage your workloads, efforts. Like you usually have a service now ticketing tool where you put a request, somebody raise a request and you handle that, right? Similarly, we have a boards in Azure DevOps. You'll learn how you can better utilize the boards. Then repos to store your Terraform templates, like when you are working with the multiple developers or multiple cloud engineers, how they can share the code, how we can control them in a better way. Then we learn about how do you create a pipelines? So pipelines is a key thing in ISC framework, and repo structure is one of the key things. These two things are very, very important when it comes to the infrastructure as code on using Azure DevOps. You will learn those things with the best practices that we implement in any ISC project, right? So how we manage, how we handle it. Then nowadays companies are also started using the GitHub for maintaining this ISC framework, because not every company uses the Azure DevOps portal, right? So we learn about how we can create a GitHub actions to do the same in ISC platform. I mean, execute the ISC platform, right? So that is where you learn about GitHub actions, GitHub, and a couple of GitHub components. So once you're done with it, you will also learn about container registries, Azure container registries, and Azure container services. These are basics. Maybe we may not go very deep in depth of it, because by the time you reach, sometimes some students I'll see they're exhausted because they're learning too much things here, right? So some people might be finding interest. Maybe they are applying for a jobs. In maybe interviews, they might be asking about Azure DevOps, maybe basics of AKS. So it will be really helpful to them. And you don't need to be master in this area, because you're already learning too much stuff. And if you're perfect on those things, you're well and good, right? Even if I am hiring somebody, and if I have people with this skill set, I would definitely take them, because nobody can be perfect on every service that we are delivering, right? When every service that we are using in the enterprise. Okay. Then at the end, we'll talk about AI services. So specific to whatever you learn, right? Example, you talked about monitoring for your virtual machine. Let's say there are CPU every day going around 80%, sorry, 90% at a specific time. Okay. And it's common in an enterprise environment. Maybe there is a batch job going on, maybe there's a backup jobs are triggering. Because of that, it is going high, right? So with the AI operations, right, intelligent automation, we say, right? So using AI ops, we will create a machine learning model. Okay, we use Azure Machine Learning Studio for this one, which is basically a no-code platform. Okay, we'll use the ML model, and we'll create some of the machine learning models with sample data of your virtual machines, and we'll train the model to predict, okay, if this VM is going at 90% every day specific duration, you can ignore that alert, right? So such kind of things. So these are some of the use cases. We have few more use cases which will help you. Example, if there are many system administrators in this calls, they might know that there are like multiple OS upgrades that we do. Let's say Linux or Windows N-1 upgrades we do, right? If there's a big environment, sometimes we get a lot of confusion. Okay, what servers to be upgraded, what servers not to be upgraded? Is it okay to upgrade or not? So those kind of things, we can also create some trend model to predict and tell us in advance that, okay, these are the servers that has to be migrated or upgraded. Sometimes we see that you have thousands of servers. You don't know how many servers are oversized, how many servers are lower sized. Maybe sometimes we can delete some machines. Maybe we can reduce the VM size, right, to save the cost. The machine learning model that we are going to develop, right, during this course will help you to predict. You input all the performance data to that model. It will tell you right away in seconds. There are 100 machines which can be downgraded the size. Let's say CPU memory can be downgraded. There are like 50 servers which need to be upgraded, because it's always using 99% of CPU utilization, memory utilization. It's basically to prevent any future issues, any critical issues. If you don't upgrade, you might see a problem, right? Those kind of scenarios, which is basically a ops solution, right? And we develop this model and we use a Python, basics of Python, and we'll teach you how you can connect to how you can develop a simple website or a web application which can connect to your model, right? And this website or application can be given to your internal teams, and they just import the data and just get the predictions, right? So that is what you'll be learning. This is the basic stuff. You may not go in depth of it, but it's better the use cases so that in future you can learn by yourself, or maybe you can be part of any conversation in your company, right? Whenever they're talking about this one. So this is pretty much that we cover. Okay. Sometimes you feel overloaded, but you will really enjoy the sessions if you're joining daily and if you're participating it. Our sessions would be like initial sessions. I will be taking the control of the sessions. Then once you get familiarity of these services, right? So you will be sharing your screen. Maybe one of the team members can share the screen, and you will work together to implement the environment, because that is how you get some practical experience as well. So most of my sessions, first 10 sessions will be in my control where I share my screen and explain to them. The rest of the sessions would be I explain the use case. Okay, this is the service that we're going to implement it. This is how we are going to connect, like your architect who's going to design a architect diagram and give it to you, and you are going to implement it. Similarly, I will explain you guys, okay, on a paint, these are the services you have to build it, this is how you connect it, these are steps, like first 5-10 minutes, then rest of them I'll give it to you guys and you guys will be implementing it. Every Monday, we plan to have a mock interview so that you know where you're standing. It's not about I always ask questions. I ensure that you know how to answer it. So I will answer you if you don't know how to answer it, right? So that will help you to bring some more confidence in you, so that whenever you go for interview, any project discussions, you'll be strong to explain to them. Okay. So this is all about I wanted to cover during my demo session team. And I've shared you guys some of the demo session recordings. I hope you have gone through them. That also contains some of the mock interviews recordings. Anyways, you all know about our YouTube channel. You have seen that. In case if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me. One last thing, I have not decided whether it should be a weekend batch or a weekdays batch and the timings. So if you guys are interested to join these sessions, you can just ping me on WhatsApp so that I will, based on your availability and timings, then I will try to create a batch for this training. Okay. I hope this is clear. Anyone have any questions? Is everyone clear? No questions? All right. If no question, then I'm happy to end the session.
Hi, Kamal. Satish
Hi.
here. I
Yeah, hi,
have one question.
Satish. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So, regarding the DevOps, just wanted to know, as you said, like we'll be creating the pipelines, right? Right? Like is DevOps pipelines.
Mm-hmm.
So, those pipelines are based out of like some software development strategies, or like
IAC
it is infra
strategies,
infra.
infrastructure.
Sorry,
IAC,
infrastructure
infrastructure as
only.
a code. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
So in case like we also want something related to, let's say, some web app, or um like that only, like we want to deploy that using the pipelines and all. So that will be covered as well,
Yeah,
or
yeah, we can
okay,
cover this. So one thing I want to just say, our sessions are basically based on a cloud engineer, what we do and day in, day out. In case if you have any
hmm,
use case like you have it right now, right? So we are happy to
okay,
implement those use cases. So we are not just
okay, okay.
limited to what we just see on the screen now, right? We are happy to
Okay.
learn together and implement it.
Yeah, actually, what happens like most of the time, if you are getting a designation like DevOps engineer, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
you have to, maybe you are also agree with that. So maybe like sometimes we have to work with the software developers only. We need to deploy their code, and we need to design and develop their pipelines, and using those pipelines we will be deploying their code.
Exactly.
So that is, yeah. So that is why, my question was like that.
Yeah. So what's another thing is going to happen is like even though you are a DevOps engineer in the
Uh-huh.
enterprise, right? You will not be able to look at the
Yeah.
repos as well. You will just go ahead and create a release
Yeah,
pipeline,
exactly.
just
Exactly.
execute it. Just execute the release pipeline. That's it. If it is failed, even if it is failed, you
Yeah.
don't do anything. You will reach out to application developer. So that is what usually happens. I have worked on this role for like almost like 8 months. I was like
Okay.
thinking,
Okay.
okay, I was called as a DevOps engineer, but I'm not doing
Okay.
nothing.
No,
Right.
no, I agree with that. Actually, I'm kind of a same role.
Hmm.
So where we get the like Git code or Git
Hmm.
repos or even Azure repos now. So based on that, we build that actually, and if we got any error, and we directly have to reach to
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
developers. Yeah,
You're right. You're 100% correct. Okay.
yeah,
All right. Thanks, Satish, to
yeah.
bring up
Thanks,
this one.
thanks.
Okay. All right. Anyone have any questions? We have 10 minutes left for the session. It was so quick. Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the demo. You learned something out of it. All right. Thank you. If you have anything, even though you're not going to join, just reach out to me. I'm happy to guide you guys. Okay. Bye.
Yeah, thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. Bye.
Thanks, Kamal.
Yeah.
Bye
Bye.
bye.